Friends, I shall now take you with us on an expedition into the wilds of Africa and endeavor to impart something of the thrill and wonder with which we beheld the marvels unfold. Opening on a cheery note, we first see the passengers on the steamer from Mombasa whiling away the time. It was the last day aboard ship, and we saw with a sense of awe the red sun of Africa sinking to rest. Next morning at Mombasa, the doorway to the land of strange places, people and things, Africa. We strolled through the streets of the town, noting the primitive methods, the mode of transportation, the quaint mixture of natives and aliens, and then a Hindu conjurer performing commonplace tricks that assumed here a mysterious favor. The wise boy, he knows how it's done. An experiment with eggs. We found the beggar's tricks diverting. At least they helped to pass the time away. Two shy little members of the audience. The old cup and ball trick, but with eggs. Also chickens. Watch him tear them apart and make two out of one. Rather clever, we thought. Wearying of the performance, we wandered again through the town, and the first day of heat and unfamiliar life came to an end. Off for Nairobi at last. On one side the river, on the other, our first view of wild game, the wildebeest. On and on, the busy train carrying us higher and higher to the uplands. Sable cows, we found they were as speedy as they were awkward. And so we came to Nairobi, where we outfitted our safari. Now a bustling hive, but 30 years ago, just a trading post in the wilderness. Primitive customs, a town of strange mixtures, modern hotels, native huts, unlike any other community in the world. The heat played havoc with our film, as you will observe. Our safari was underway at last. The goods unloaded, equipment complete, we started the long trek to the heart of adventure. Our wagons had 4 wheels, but no brakes. Maggie is 4. On we went, nevertheless, taking the bitter with the sweet. But we were a bit soft yet, and decided we had enough for the first day. So we pitched camp. The boys enjoyed their chance to bathe, but should have been a bit more particular about their company. Somebody yelled crocodile, and there was a scamper. Two straggling walk carts suggested a savory addition to our provisions. I missed. I was a poor provider. The natives attempted to show us up with their primitive weapons, with no better success, till they resorted to trapping. The following morning, we were told of a man-eating crocodile in the neighborhood that had developed an annoying appetite for dark meat. He had recently devoured a woman from a neighboring tribe. We saw one of the beasts on the bank. And shot it. A post-mortem disclosed he was the very one we were after. Much to the satisfaction of the natives, who all claimed the jewelry. It looked like a crocodile paradise. We discovered a crocodile nest with eggs seemingly ready to hatch. The old lady objected to our presence, apparently. Talk about your incubators. Millions of baby crocodiles. Harmless enough now, but I fancy not so pleasant when they grow up. The old lady and gentleman resented our intrusion. Crocodiles promised an exciting day's sport. We ran upon some natives bent on the same sport. However, they had their own peculiar way, and we watched with interest as they baited their hooks. Their method was a bit more sportsmanlike than ours. It at least gave the beast a fighting chance. We soon became conscious of a terrific chattering noise, as if a million rattles had been let loose. And then suddenly burst upon swarms of monkeys. It was a real surprise to see monkeys swimming like fish. The little duffers seemed extremely fond of lily pods. But the crocodiles evidently were as fond of monkeys. Some of the odd specimens attracted us, so we went ashore to secure them for our collection. The performance proved so amusing, we almost forgot what we came for. We baited some harmless trap for their capture. Mama and baby were watching father's foolish antics from a place of safety. Careful. Look out. Father's in trouble again. Such a duffer. Such torrid language. I can't bear to look. Swain was for the quickest way, but I preferred a less barbarous method. The little beggar proved decidedly ungrateful. In fact, he gave me the raspberries. Storm clouds began to gather, so we hastened for the boat to make camp before the deluge came. It was a real tempest. soon learned, however, that tropical storms end as quickly as they begin. As an aftermath of the storm, we encountered swollen streams and muddy roads. However, plenty of manpower pulled us through. During a halt, our attention was attracted by a sharp barking sound accompanied by a most uncanny hissing. A noise familiar to our boys, who with glistening eyes came to tell us that it was a python after his prey, as you will observe. Python meat is a decided delicacy with the boys, and they were anxious we bag it for them. After the capture, however, it proved such a wonderful specimen that we decided to keep it for the collection, notwithstanding the grumblings of our porters. The python's tidbit was a queer little creature resembling a lemur. He was such an interesting specimen that we determined the python should be cheated out of his dinner. The python, however, was as bent upon securing his meal as we were in preventing it. The pop-eyed little beggar was wishing us success. The constricting powers of a python are dependent upon his obtaining a secure tail hold. Without it, he is quite helpless. He lashed about furiously as we tried to untwist his tail from the limb. Finally, we were forced to cut down the limb. Mr. Python was soon caged for shipment back home. And Popeye became quite a favorite in camp. We now came upon a native village with children playing in the narrow lanes between the thatched huts. In their habits, they were very much the same children as you would find anywhere else. A primitive way of preparing posho, which is an important item of food here. The African husband, not unlike some others, believes in letting the better half do the work. May I suggest, ladies, that this is a wonderful and efficient way of reducing? You may observe that many of the native women are quite shapely. Animal fat is used by the natives to grease their bodies and also their skin-wearing apparel. And while it keeps their clothing very soft and pliable, I don't think the odor would ever become very popular here. Even at play, the young African is trained to protect himself from the dangers of the jungle. We were the topic of conversation, we found out later. They wanted to know if we would rid the vicinity of a family of leopards that were playing havoc with their cattle. The natives had not been very successful with their leopard trap. And our headman recommended some improvements. We started out to track the beasts to their lairs. Ran upon a leopard cub, playful as a domestic kitten. The cry of a full-grown leopard is about as unpleasant a sound as one cares to hear. It sent a chill down my spine when I heard it for the first time. I missed my shot. The natives started to drive the animal from its hiding place into the clear so that I might get another crack at it. Out it came like a flash of tawny light, and I pulled the trigger. There goes the other. In they went, and out they came. The leopard evidently couldn't take a joke. Turned by a shot, he made straight for the trap. With eyes like livid green fire, it glared at us and snarled as it was safely trussed up and taken back to camp. A living specimen we were mighty glad to get. Caged and ready for shipment, a beauty, but furious at his confinement. Rid of the menace, there was joy in the village, and the celebration and ceremonial dance were in order. This may suggest the origin of some of our popular dances of the day. African flappers. Two dusky Adonises I was invariably impressed by the amazing physiques of these fellows. Something of the weirdness of Africa, still untamed, was expressed in these dances. These simple native hearts seemed to hold a dark knowledge of hidden things and strange mysteries, beating like the tom-tom, an unending rhythm in the soul of the black. Our safari again underway, trekking along amidst an ever-changing vista of water, jungles, mountains, and valleys. The heat was terrific, and our pictures suffered accordingly. In the distance, herds of antelope and other game animals grazed, standing out against the skyline. An impala fawn, and quite at home with us, not a bit afraid. The African buffalo. He is considered by all big game hunters the most dangerous of beasts. Slow and majestic, they can charge with the speed of an arrow. And woe betide the hunter if his shot is misplaced. The buffalo is both tricky and vindictive. These birds are cow herons, which always accompany the buffalo. We soon learned that when we saw these birds, we were close to the African bison. We were getting shy of fresh meat, so bagged an eland to replenish our larder. We were sure of a good dinner at any rate. And again, the seemingly endless march. Many miles had been covered, and we were drawing closer to the land of big game. A herd of roebucks which we disturbed, but not before we had obtained a good camera shot. And then we saw a giant black head with tiny ears above the water. It was a hippopotamus. Like something unreal, goggle-eyed, monstrous, the hippos are sported in the waters of the lake. They are nocturnal feeders, but spend their days in the water. The natives prize hippo meat highly as food, and were anxious that we bag a couple of the great beasts. I tried a long shot. Our dogs, headed by Scotty, an air dare with a Viking's heart, pursued the hippos and got in the way of the guns. But nothing could stop Scotty. A second shot, and a tremendous threshing in the water told of a hit. Gleefully, the boys rushed to the task of dragging the monsters from the lake. They sprang upon the dead hippo and rode him ashore for all the world like children riding a hobby horse. A native delicacy, and plenty of it. There was now no lack of fresh meat in camp. These are the African fables. reached the country where game of every sort abounded. Eland kept friendly company with zebra, wildebeest, congoni, and many other of the fleet-footed varieties. We saw a herd of buffalo grazing in the high grass. Realizing their vindictiveness, we were decidedly wary, keeping downwind as we set up our cameras. At any moment, they might get wind of us and charge. This old fellow calmly turned his back upon us, and with supreme indifference, walked away. While perhaps unflattering, we were nevertheless quite relieved at his lack of interest. The herd finally caught our scent and started to run. Here we encountered impala, steinbok, and several other varieties of the gazelle and antelope families. We had reached an animal paradise. Grotesque baboons stalked with their curious crooked tails across our vision. Coming was one of my greatest thrills. My first view of giraffes in their native wild. This creature has no defense save his keen hearing and sight. He has no vocal cords and therefore can make no sound. At the first sign of danger, he runs to a nearby tree where his color acts as a camouflage. But driven to bay or in defense of its young, a giraffe has been known to cut a lion to pieces with a sharp hook. One of these animals was at least 20 feet in height. They have an awkward lope, but can cover plenty of ground. One of the most beautiful shots we made on the entire trip. Seemingly, he was not at all afraid, but merely curious. Our old friends again, the foolish wildebeest, called the buffoon of the plains. Deeper and deeper we penetrated toward the beating heart of Africa, leaving the equator and the terrific heat behind, climbing ever upward into the regions which have not yet been too much overrun by the white man. We made camp on the shores of a beautiful lake. Beyond, great mountain ranges lifted to the sky, brooding over the secrets hidden in the shadows of the jungle. The deep cleft ravines and the far-reaching plains. Zebras and some commies. Short Wisconsin gazelle. Just a lone ostrich. But from indications, she won't be lonely long. For some unknown reason, all other creatures leave the waterhole when an ostrich comes to drink. Though we hated to shoot zebra, we were running short of fresh meat and wanted a good skin besides. We brought down a good specimen. The natives took what they wished. We removed the hides, and the scavengers of the air got the rest. The last of the zebra, save for the bones. We struck a period of heat that was unexpected. Our film suffered, as you may observe. Then a thrill of thrills awaited us, the presence of rhinoceros. Rhinos are stupid beasts and usually attend strictly to their own business. But once aroused, they are mean customers to deal with. There was a moment of indecision. What would the rhinos do? The creatures are very short-sighted, but their smell, or sense of smell, is decidedly keen. The cow and bull came on towards the cameras. I turned one with a lucky shot. It was a moment of tremendous excitement for all concerned. Off they go and we in pursuit. Hidden away in the thickets of thorny brush, one of them badly wounded. It was up to us to finish him. Worried by our dogs, Scotty as usual in the foreground, was caught by the short, long horns of the rhino and tossed 50 feet in the air. It was his last charge. The orphan, rather a husky infant, and decidedly unfriendly. A bit awkward for a pet, but a cute little beggar. The first step toward preserving the hide of the rhino. And the ever-present vultures again on the job. On the trek again with baby following. Ed Joyce, our chief cameraman, made a wager with Swain that he could pitch the tent in 30 seconds. He did it with a trick of the camera. Some speed, eh, what? The bane of our safari was Swain's radio. He never lost an opportunity to inflict it upon us. Someday, he said, he would get Hollywood. Wait a minute. I'll fix it. I told the boy to smash the infernal machine. He'd have done it, too, but Swain showed a burst of temperament. The natives had heard, however, and began arriving to listen to the white man's strange devil instrument. Swain brought out his phonograph recorder, with which we tried to record the speech of the natives. When it played back, the natives decided that we were wizards indeed, and listened with amazement to their own voices coming from the mysterious horn. They were not so much frightened as stupefied by astonishment. When they heard it, they wanted to crawl in to see where the mysterious sounds came from. The night and the voice of the jungle with all its medley of sound. The next morning, the lions were reported in a donga close by, and a cautious search brought us to a clearing, where we started building our blinds. Our telescopic lens gave us some fine close-ups. We put a heifer in for bait. The natives started to beat the beast into the clear to give us a better chance with our cameras. Through the thick underbrush, the lions were now plainly visible. We wounded this big beast. He ran for the clear with the natives in pursuit. We knew we had hurt him, and it is one of the unwritten laws of hunters to finish a wounded beast. Friends, please watch closely what soon follows. Things happened so quickly that when the smoke cleared and the excitement was over, we had one badly wounded cameraman and a terribly mauled fellow hunter who survived only 7 weeks after the attack. The tragedy left its mark on all of us. Our cameraman, Ed Joyce, was on the job and exhibited more steel nerves with his camera than I did with my gun. The natives were beating the bush on all sides, and the bewildered beast didn't know which way to turn. Joyce never left his post. He looked around every now and then to see if I was backing him up. Look out, Ed, he's coming! Two females came charging out, and one caught Carol unprepared. After our wounded were cared for, we found we had bagged the largest lion ever taken in this region. He weighed 608 pounds and measured 9 feet from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail. From the natives, we learned that these two monsters were noted man-eaters and had accounted for many natives in this district. It was well rid of them. The lion dance, celebrating the kill. The natives cover themselves with the skin of the beast and so imbibe, as they think, the courage of the lion. The African native is very emotional. The only way he gives vent to his emotion is by dancing. Be it grief, sorrow, or happiness, he dances. And how he dances. Such a dance must be seen to be fully appreciated. But this camera record gives a very adequate idea of the strangeness of the ceremony. The water hole, where we camped for several months to get specimens and photographs of the animals. Animals of every sort came down to drink. Congoni, impala, gazelles, and others. A waterhole seems to be under a perpetual flag of truce, and the lion and lamb literally lie down together. From our blinds we watch the arrival of monkeys, mostly baboons, as well as giraffes, which seem to consort in friendly fashion with the apes. An animal convention. Delegates arriving. Apparently the big ape was chairman. Dissenting members walking out. Three lobbyists discussing the questions of the day. Teaching the baby giraffe how to drink. Soon a loud trumpeting told us the elephants had caught our scent. The convention was in disorder. We encountered a nomadic tribe, wandering natives with their earthly belongings strapped to the beasts of burden. As inquiries told us we were nearing the INGAGI country, we noticed our boys becoming uneasy. Several had deserted, and we began to suspect the reason. Again those aerial scavengers telling of the presence of death. Another scavenger, the despised hyena. The abandoned village was a scene of desolation. A few shots after him as he scurried across the plain. Another grave robber, the armadillo, who feasts upon the dead. Altogether, it was a merry little spot we picked to stop at. If there was a spot on earth that God forgot, this was it. In the Phantom Village, we again encountered elephant spoor, determined to go after the big tusker. Meanwhile, Captain Swain came across an animal of such queer character that no one could give a name to it. It seemed like a cross between an armadillo and a tortoise, so Swain called it a tortadillo. So far as we have been able to learn, it is a species hitherto unknown to science. We handled the creature with interest until it happened to snap at a dog. In about 3 minutes, the dog was dead. After that, we gave the venomous devil a wide berth. Another tribe of nomads and more elephant tracks. We came upon a herd of the great brutes taking a bath in the lake. The big bull was the finest specimen we had so far run across, and we were anxious to get him. The herd limbered through the forest, tearing up trees and amusing themselves generally. They got our scent, and the big tusker plowed away through the tall grass like a vast ironclad of the plains. Two shots with the elephant gun proved ineffective. Finally, a vital shot and the big fellow came down with a crash that made the earthquake. His tusk weighed 134 pounds each. The swift current cost us 3 of our mules. But it's an ill wind that don't blow somebody good. Swain's radio set went with one of the mules. A roaring sound now told us that we were at the Great Thompson's Fall, an impressive and beautiful sight. In this village, we heard 2 interesting pieces of information. One, that there was a tribe of pygmies near at hand. The other regarding the gorillas, INGAGI they call them. We were soon to come upon our most amazing adventure. All but 18 of our boys had now deserted. Cutting our way through the dense underbrush, we were conscious of being watched by hundreds of invisible eyes. We caught a glimpse of the little fellows, wild as March hares. They lived on grubs and were digging them inside the bark of dead trees. One of the party tried to tempt them into the open, but they were as shy as a bevy of debutantes. They were rather interested in the beads, however, and it proved a tempting bait, as we got a few camera shots of the little beggars. Then they were off like the wind, and we never caught another glimpse of them. Months of weary trekking brought us near the mysterious region beyond the Kivu country of the Belgian Congo. Through the trees, in the saddle rocks between the volcanic mountains, we caught sight of what seemed like human beings and gigantic apes. At last we had penetrated into the heart of the INGAGI country, where no white man had ever been before. Everywhere there were strange sounds, mysterious rustling of the underbrush, chattering that seemed both human and animal. We were soon to be thrilled by what met our gaze. A company of women, unclothed, apparently living like animals, shy as reed bucks and fleet as antelope. Could these tales be true? Tales we had regarded as mere legends of a native tribe, lowest of all in the scale of humanity. Stories of their strange traffic with the great apes, creatures scarcely less intelligent than themselves. In the background, you will see a gigantic INGAGI accompanying the women. One had a child hugged to her breast, a strange-looking child, seemingly more ape than human. Dimly like figures from a nightmare, they stole through the forest while we watched, hardly daring to breathe. The many types of great apes gathered in this weird place suggested that this might be the veritable cradle of humanity. The male gorilla we found builds his nest at the foot of a tree, sending his family into the branches for greater security against the ravening jungle leopards, which are especially fond of ape meat. We watched and photographed. Into the dense underbrush we penetrated, expecting at any moment that the gorilla or some of his companions would pounce upon us. We wanted this giant specimen alive if possible. He resented our attentions rather. We followed him to his cave. At last the animal vanished into the cleft of the mountain, and we proceeded to smoke him out. Three great apes made for the brush. For a time they eluded us, but we soon found them in the treetops. Overcome by the fumes, the big INGAGI was easily netted. But holding him was another matter. His strength was appalling. He threw our boys around like so many tenpins. Maddened by our pursuit, he charged us. Upsetting the camera and almost destroying the amazing film record we had obtained. Worried, and I don't mind saying, a bit unnerved by our first encounter with the INGAGI, we returned to camp. That night we heard strange sounds coming from the nearby village. Tom-toms and bird chantings, great bonfires illuminating the scene. We beheld a strange and fantastic vision. Our headman made inquiries and reported. To our amazement, he told us that this was the night the tribe sacrificed a woman to the INGAGI. A witch doctor dressed as a gorilla, strange painted creatures hovering over him, glistening naked bodies and painted faces, like something out of an opium smoker's dream. All night the ceremony continued. In the early morning, with our cameras, we prepared to obtain pictures of whatever might take place. We were ready to believe almost anything now. And here is what we beheld. We saw the woman seated on a log, apparently resigned to her fate. We followed with the cameras, but little suspecting what was in store for us. The brute pounced upon her, and she screamed like one possessed. Webster thought of nothing but his picture. To me, the whole thing smacked of something inhuman. The gorilla was dragging the woman through the thicket. Three times, Swain attempted to shoot, but each time was deterred by the cameraman, who wanted to get it all. But the limit had been reached, and at last he fired. While the guerrilla is seldom the aggressor, he was now being robbed of his legitimate prey and was prepared to fight to the last ditch. Dropping the woman, he came on with roars that seemed to shake the very earth. His struggle with death was awesome. With almost human screams of agony, he twisted and turned, and at last lay still. And then the natives came, but their respect for the creature was indicated by the care of their approach. He weighed 602 pounds and stood 6 feet 1, measured 8 feet and 4 inches from the tip of the fingers of one hand to the tips of the other. And then we beheld a last strange vision as we watched in the thicket where the fallen INGAGI lay. Out of the ship crept one of the mere half-human women who gazed upon the dead monster, lifted its arms and let them fall again, seemingly unable to comprehend. And then she fled into the jungle.